Once the job steps have been delineated and success outcomes defined for any job, we now have a framework that can be used to quantify the value that customers want from solutions to get a job done well. Recall that all customers want to continually move towards an ideal job process in order to increase job economy. This means they want to perform job activities in the most efficient and effective way possible to generate expected success outcomes. The reality, however, is far from this ideal most of the time. Job circumstance and the limitations of solutions in use create moments of struggle, which gives rise to important and unsatisfied customer needs. These are the customer's priorities. The Jobs to Be Done framework provides a fast, reliable, and inexpensive way to periodically assess the value that customers want from solutions. This is important because job priorities change over time. Once customer needs have been identified, you can focus your innovation efforts on producing the value that satisfies those customer priorities better than competing solutions, thereby driving demand for your company's offerings. But before we can determine the value that customers want from solutions, we must first identify all customer needs involved in getting a particular job done. Only then can we reliably determine the value that customers want. The Jobs to Be Done framework makes a distinction between the customer needs relating to job action and customer needs relating to desired progress. We explore the job action side first. Now, customer needs relating to job action are defined as the key outcomes customers want when they perform job activities in order to accomplish a job step. These key outcomes are important to customers because they determine how well each job step is accomplished. Simply put, key outcomes are the customer's needs with respect to executing a job. Take, for example, the job, obtain product support. The first step is to determine the kind of support needed. To accomplish this objective, you must first understand the nature of the problem, which may not be obvious. So you engage in certain activities to find this out. Maybe you buy a diagnostic tool. Maybe you reference the product manual to understand an error code. Maybe you contact an expert, or maybe you search YouTube for an answer. Regardless of the nature of these activities, all customers want to minimize the time, effort, and resources required to determine the support needed. Therefore, it makes sense that a few of the key outcomes that customers want are, number one, the product indicates what the problem is, and number two, it takes little effort to understand the nature of the problem. These two key outcomes, among others, determine the time, effort, and resources required to accomplish this job step. Now, successful innovation targets priority customer needs and provides solutions that satisfy those needs better than competing alternatives. The problem is that we need a way to quantify what better means from the customer's perspective. Otherwise, it's not clear how much better a solution has to be to satisfy customer priorities. Without this knowledge, innovation efforts can easily go off track, as they often do. The answer to this problem is to structure the key outcomes wanted or customer needs as directional metrics of value. By expressing these customer needs as either minimizing something or increasing something related to job activities, it defines value along a continuum for each key outcome. By definition, then, the value relating to job action is produced by a solution to the extent that it satisfies any of these customer needs. By asking customers to rate how satisfied they are for each of these key outcomes vis-a-vis their solutions, we can identify the outcomes that aren't good enough for certain customers. We can then quantify how much more value those customers want from a solution to make these key outcomes good enough in the customer's mind. These are customer value metrics, or CVMs for short, and they're the criteria that determine the customer experience while executing a job using any solution. Simply put, CVMs give us a way to precisely define value from the customer's perspective. We can then know in advance what value customers want and then focus our innovation efforts on producing that value, thereby eliminating the ambiguity around customer needs that so often tanks innovation efforts. One or more CVMs are associated with each job step, and they define value in terms of job action efficiency. These are expressed as minimize the amount of time and effort and resources required to accomplish a job step. And in fact, most key outcomes wanted have to do with minimizing these aspects in job activities. For example, minimize the time it takes to explain a problem, and minimize the time it takes to find a desired item, and minimize the effort it takes to share information with others, and minimize the number of tools required to fix the problem. Customer value metrics can also be expressed as minimize or increase the likelihood and frequency of something happening during job activities. These have to do with a desire to reduce the variability in activities that increases the time, effort, and resources needed to accomplish job steps. For example, increase the likelihood that instructions are clear, and minimize the likelihood that an appointment is missed, and minimize the frequency of interruptions. Finally, customer value metrics can be expressed as minimize or increase the level, number, or amount of something during job activities, and that by doing so decreases the time, effort, and resources required to accomplish job steps. For example, increase the level of sound as ambient noise gets louder, and increase the number of interactions during an event, and minimize the number of cuts that have to be made, and minimize the amount of product lost during transfer. Generally speaking, more than 70% of the CVMs have to do with minimizing some aspect of job activities, while less than 30% have to do with increasing something. Now, let's go back to our earlier job example, obtain product support, and define one customer value metric for each job step. For step 1, a CVM might be minimize the effort it takes to understand the issue with the product. For step 2, a CVM might be minimize the time it takes to search for support contact information. For step 3, a CVM might be minimize the amount of information required to obtain support. For step 4, a CVM might be minimize the number of tools required to fix the problem. And for step 5, a CVM might be increase the likelihood of knowing how to verify the issue is resolved. It should be noted that it's not uncommon to capture 2 to 5 customer value metrics for each job step. Depending on the complexity of the job, between 50 and 150 customer value metrics are generally captured.